Welcome back to part 4 for this demonstration. I just placed in really quickly a table. I'd made some adjustments based off of my masterwork I saw and what I was seeing in the film still. Now what I'm going to also do, just so I can move on a little bit, I'm going to get some of these darker values of the table and how dark some of the shadows and things. I'm going to color pick from my film still, and I am going to make some large kind of gestural marks over top of this. So this is ultimately really going to show that layering in my work, where we'll be able to see some of the light values coming through and then the darker values on top. I'm also going to make an adjustment here in the bottom, and I'm going to make this whole bottom corner a lot darker, just because this would be in such shadow. And we're kind of thinking about abstracting the space a little bit too. So I'm going to just kind of do that. We've got this table. We'll get some objects on there in a little bit. But in the meantime, we're going to work on this background some more and get Samuel L. Jackson's character's hands roughly placed in there, because we see how abstracted Diebenkorn's hands for some of his figures would be. We're going to try to emulate that, because we already kind of did that a little bit in our masterwork, where we started to kind of abstract these things just to basic forms. But we're really going to push that here as we move forward. So. And folks, please, if you have any questions, feel free to comment underneath this video, or send your instructors an email here if you have any questions about this kind of thing. But again, I like just showing my own process for my students, but all of you will land on things that work really well for you. But this is something I think that some things I've learned over time that really do help out when you're especially studying art and design and things in this way. So the next thing, we're going to work on this divider here between these booths. So this sort of large dark section here, we're going to work on adding that in, or sort of highlighting that a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to make my brush size a little smaller, and I'm actually going to grab sort of more of a muted kind of lighter color, and I'm going to see, because I also see this light yellow, this real bright yellow that's being used, I'm going to kind of try to lighten up this divider, this space in here. So I'm going to just sort of paint in where the top side of this would be, and I'm layering this over top of that red, that sort of muted red that we put in there earlier, to see if those colors can start to blend and interact together a little bit. And I am enjoying the way that looks right now, so I'll just kind of stop before I get too far, stop before I get ahead of myself. And then I'm going to focus my energy here on this back booth section. So in my master copy and in the still that I used as reference, there's this real harsh shadow that comes across, so I'm going to try to quickly make some more marks based off of where I put that blue earlier. I'm actually going to color pick from the darker value that I put underneath the table, and I'm going to layer some of that darker area over top of where this blue is. So I'm just kind of filling that in, imagining to myself how quick, if I was working really quickly or kind of energized in the studio, what this potentially could look like. So kind of put that in there. I'm using these up and down kind of strokes and things because I've noticed even the style that Diebenkorn had sort of naturally with his brushwork and things as well. So I need to fill in the back some more definition of where that booth really was. So I'm going to kind of fill in here, bring that booth back to life. That top edge that was a little bit more in highlight, I'm going to kind of bring that in. Bringing these things in kind of subtly. I'm also thinking about those rectangular forms and things as well, so I'm going to try to make these a little bit more straight. Even though they are curved, I'm thinking about Diebenkorn's style, right? So he would have probably made them a little bit more straight if we were thinking about this as a landscape. I'll kind of keep that a little more straight, the lines there. Other things too, like I can kind of have some fun with are, the person that's back here in the background. We kind of just see legs and a little bit of things there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a dark value of this really, very much a muted violet, and I'm going to just make them sort of a rectangular shape, sort of a square back here. So this compression of these shapes in the back are actually going to really help us understand that space. So I'm going to kind of just fill that in. I'm not even going to worry about the details, really. I'm thinking about, you're probably thinking, well, Dave, why are you doing that? Well, I just keep thinking about Diebenkorn's work in the front of my mind while I'm doing this, and I just love the structures of like these landscapes, of how we have these large areas of like sky, and then we get to the areas of how these break down in the landscape from the ground, the fields and different things, and then we either have like, and what's always kind of ambiguous about some of these works is like this is either a wall that's right next to the diner wherever this person's sitting, or this is the sidewalk potentially, or this might even be another field kind of moment, or some other panel that's part of the restaurant. We're not really sure. So it adds a little mystery to this work too. So I am going to really quickly, folks, go ahead and I'm going to try to get some of these other chairs and things in the background. I'm going to try to put those in, but I'm going to just use them kind of sparingly. I'm just going to use sort of rectangular shapes instead of those curved shapes that we had done earlier. And I'm going to take a darker red from sort of color picking from this image. I'm going to take a darker red, and I'm just going to kind of build in. I'm going to fill in very much so, layer in here where those chairs would kind of be. And I'm just going to paint those in. And I'm going to go kind of light right now with my pressure. And then if I need to, I can make things darker, obviously, with more pressure that I add here with my pencil, my Apple pencil that I'm using. So I'm going to kind of get these structures in here instead of using them as more curvilinear forms. Get those as more rectilinear. Just kind of filling those in. What I'm liking right now is this brush that I've got selected really is kind of mimicking more of a paint, more of a sort of natural kind of paintbrush, which is working out pretty well for me. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, folks, and for the next part, we're going to finalize some more of Samuel Jackson's face, his figure here, and some of those objects on that table.